Hey, hello, Marcia. I'm so happy to
Hi,
see you here. And
happy to see you.
where are you coming from right now? Where are you?
So I am in the greater Seattle area in
Mhm.
Olympia, Washington, in the US.
So for you, it's actually daytime.
It is. It is about, well, almost 1 o'clock here.
Hmm. And here it's almost 11 p.m. and the sun is about to set. So it's amazing that we have the internet, we have the connection, the ability to connect like just across the world to come together for a little talk, mostly about our own athletic backgrounds and also what it means to be an athlete. What does it mean to be an athlete in your mind? So you did say that you have also some running background. Could you maybe tell a little bit more about this? You as an
Yeah,
athlete.
I would say the first 20 years of my life, I was very much into running.
Hmm.
And any chance that I had to run, I was I was doing it. I started running more like races as a sport when I was in sixth grade,
Hmm.
joining a running club, doing some long distance running, and later jumping into track and field and running middle distances, as well as doing some cross country when I was in
Hmm.
high school.
So what
And I just loved it.
Wow. So what did you like the most? The track and field or running in the nature, cross country or long distances on the road? What was like your favorite?
They both had their own unique aspects of it. So the the cross country I loved because you're out in nature. It's kind of like hiking but faster. And you're enjoying the breeze, you get some shade, you can listen to the birds. Sometimes, maybe a squirrel might pass in front of
Hmm.
you. Um, that was just a lot of fun and a little bit more, I would say, relaxing. So less pressure, more enjoyable. Whereas track and field was, um, at least for me, a little bit more strategic
Hmm.
because there you really, you have to think about how you set up your blocks, for example, if you're running more of a sprint, and you have to think about the lane positions that you're in and some of those strategies. Not that cross country doesn't have that, but I think it's just a different setting
Hmm.
when you have a track and you have people in the stands watching, and the gun goes off, the adrenaline is
Hmm.
going, and all of a sudden you are in the race, and you don't have you do have the choice, but generally it's not something to just say, oh, I've decided today I'm not going to run, and I'm just
Hmm.
going to turn around, or I'm going to stop when that gun goes off. That generally was not, um,
Hmm.
so you're injured, not something that you would do. Um, and for me, they also brought different mental challenges.
Hmm.
So, when you're running the distance, and I know you also have done distance running,
Yeah, long distance.
um, able to keep going, and you kind of get into this zone.
Hmm.
It's very meditative, I would
Hmm.
say. And I can recall the times, even in practice or sometimes in races, you just kind of have this nice pace going, and your mind is going all over the place. And
Hmm.
being able to control the mind, when part of it's saying, "Oh, slow down, take a break. Look at that nice rock over there. You could sit on that for, a couple minutes and catch your breath."
Hmm.
Uh, Feeling, the different aches and pains in the
Hmm.
body as you're, you know, in the last loop or whatever. Um, it really becomes a mental battle, I
Hmm.
think,
It's so
if you have
true.
to.
Yeah, I remember, especially when it was like a marathon, I did have like these times when I was okay. 5 more minutes. Okay, I can do 1 more kilometer, 5 minutes. Especially when it got like hard, it starts to be like a mental game. Okay, until the next turn, next corner, next, and okay, finish line. I'm saved. So you were and you were also saying that running was sometimes also like a meditative state. Would you like also compare it to the flow state? Because I know that you have also like studied Stephen Kotler's flow state and you have done the program. So is it somehow comparable or connected?
Absolutely. I definitely think that it's the same kind of, we call it the zone that you get into when you're in any kind of creative state. I also have played piano. I've been a music composer for many years. I played clarinet in the wind ensembles, and and I also create art. And I think whenever we're loving what we're doing and we're just in that deeply meditative space, there is a different level of brain work that's going on there, and time passes much more quickly. So yeah, I think during the race, when you're running, you certainly kind of get into that same state, and there's a lot of creativity that can even come as you're running, if you're able to harness it, if you're able to kind of quiet your body from saying, hey, you should stop, or oh my goodness, your ankle's hurting so much, or focusing on the negative parts. If you're able to kind of quiet those distractions, that's when the real thinking, the real creative aspects come in. And I think that part of it is the same for whatever you're working on. If you're trying to do paint a picture, work on art, for example, and you have so many distractions around you, and you haven't taken care of your hunger, you haven't taken care of your thirst, you haven't taken care of some of the basic needs, those same kind of little voices in our head, our body especially, will say, hey, maybe you should be doing this, or go take a nap, or as opposed to blocking it out and being able to get into the zone and open up that creative state, that really where the magic happens.
Yeah, I think I have had like many inspiring moments when I was still running. I don't run anymore, maybe just twice a week, 20 minutes. But I used to run like 2 hours every day. Not every day 2 hours, but I used to run a lot compared to what I'm doing now, because now I'm mostly doing bodybuilding. But I was doing it, and actually in university, I had kind of crazy teacher who was also a runner, and he was also a philosopher. So he designed his own course at university, and it was called Life Run. So we were basically reading philosophical texts about running, and we were also running together, like in different settings, like very early in the morning, very late at night, in different areas. And we were also doing like 5 senses run, where you had to like pay attention to what you hear, what you see, what you can smell, what you can hear. So we were doing all the different things. And it's like, okay, running is much more than just a physical activity. And I think that any sport is much more than a physical activity, because it's also something in your head. It's the mental game, as you know, the mental challenge. If your mind is not strong and you keep getting distracted, it's much harder to do the sport, and it's much harder to become very good at doing it, I would say. And I think
Absolutely.
it's all connected.
Well, and I'm sure that you experience this as well, but the thought of pushing through the wall, they call it the wall, at the end of a race, where the last 100 meters or so
I
can
would say
sometimes be,
in marathon, the wall is like maybe the last hour. So if I ran like maybe a little bit more than 3 hours, maybe even the very last hour is like, it's just a huge wall. And I'm not pushing through it. I'm just carrying this wall with me. It's like, okay, I'm just going, little bit more. Okay, finish time. Good. So maybe
Yes.
if it's like a shorter distance, maybe you do push through it and then it's done. But in marathon, sometimes you just drag this wall around with you.
Yes.
Kind
Well,
of,
and
yeah.
I ran the 400 meter dash. That was
Okay.
my special race. Definitely middle distance. But I used to really be a little bit fearful of the wall. I was training myself to push through it. I think that I learned a lot of life lessons in really diving into the pain of those last few meters of being able to cross the finish line and give it 100% when it feels like all your muscles are failing. And one race that I ran really comes to my mind where I actually broke the school record at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
And I had entered the race and the competition had dropped out. So it was just me doing my thing. And, you know, no competition. So I still had to run the race to get the points for the team. But I got on the field, you know, on the track and ran my race, really enjoyed it. But the last 100 meters, I slowed down. And I actually was kind of goofing around. I think I skipped across the finish line. And my coach was yelling at me. She's like, no, go. And I'm like, I couldn't understand why she was yelling because I didn't have any competition. And I literally walked across that finish line. And lo and behold, I broke the record.
Wow. Even walking.
Event. I broke that event, and which was on the one hand really surprising and really cool, but then when I thought about it, it's like, had I given it 100%, I may have had an even better time.
Yeah, it's like a competition with yourself. And in this
Yes.
competition with just yourself, you were just, you know, having a little bit of fun, walking across the finish line, not giving your all. So did you take this lesson with you and use it, you know, in some other areas of your life? Like even when you're competing with only yourself, you're still like giving the maximum.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned in that whole experience, because when I look back on it and I reflect, I was having fun. I did have the pressure somewhat reduce. So I wasn't being as hard on myself. I didn't think I had competition. So that, I do believe that helped me to run a faster pace the first part of the race, you know, up until the point when I just kind of was like, I'm not going to hit the wall today. I'm just going to skip across the finish line. But the second part of that lesson is to give it at your 100%, no matter what. And I did not get my 100%, even though I was having fun. I didn't take it that one notch higher of excellence that I could have. It made the difference between good and great, or, you know, fabulous, fantastic. And I think that that is what sets so many people apart. You know, when we look at success in the world, it's those people who are willing to take it just that one little notch higher that produce exceptional results. There's a lot of people who succeed, you know, in different ways. You know, I graduate from college, I get my job, I have my house, you know, yeah, I've done the thing. But when we're looking to truly make an impact in the world and go bigger, shine brighter, you know, adhere to a higher mission. For me, it's saving lives and being a global change maker.
Wow.
If I can take my vision and what I do bigger and in a way that now I know that I'm giving it my best, the best of my talents, the best of me, my 100%, even when it feels fun, then that's going to make the difference. So I think that's part of that lesson that that I took away. And the other part of that is when I do push through the wall, because there are times in our life when things do not feel good. And the pain of a 400-meter dash, at the end of that race is often just excruciating. I mean, every muscle in the body goes numb. You can barely walk across the finish line. A lot of people collapse at the end when they've truly given it all. But being able to push through that wall, as I've had different difficulties in my life, I think really prepared me to be able to get up and do things again. To know that when we hit the wall, when we know we've given it our all and we collapse at the end of the finish line, we know that there's going to be another race tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, why do we go through that pain and suffering only to do it all over again?
To get stronger. And if it's like
Stronger,
400
exactly.
meters, if it's like only 400 meters, I think you also recover faster, because if it's like a marathon, you will have to recover for a longer time, like many weeks even, to run the next one, because it's like feels so extended. I think it's like, if you know how to push yourself during that like 400-meter race, it also gives you like the ability, like if necessary, you can like gather up all your energy and do like something very high intensity, and then just get it done. For example, I was like a long distance runner, so for me, I think it would be easier to just go like 3-4 hours and have like this extended pain. But it's slower pace. The pain is different. But for me, it's like very hard to push myself like for 400 meters. It's like so concentrating, condensed time, and it sounds so different and so difficult. So for me, it's easier to push myself in a very long period, for example.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because I think that there is strengths to both approaches. I have learned that a cool technique for managing projects is like if you're writing a book or something, is to block off time on your calendar to just say, okay, for this weekend or this day, I am going to remove all the distractions and I'm going to focus on this one thing and I'm going to give it my all and I'm going to get it done. So that's one example. Another example is our daily habits and taking those small incremental steps every day to build those muscles, to make ourselves stronger, as you said earlier. That training part of it. And then I think there's times for those short sprints where, oh my goodness, I have this opportunity and I have 4 hours, or maybe I even have just an hour to get this done. I'm going to turn off all the distractions. I'm going heads down and it's go, 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 go. And I'm just going to give it my all, no matter how imperfect it is. If I collapse the finish line, that's okay, because I know that I gave it. I think we have moments like that too. So many lessons that I think we can take away from experiences that we had athletically.
So what else did your athletic career give you? Like, it gave you like the ability to push through, and also like I think you were also like quite disciplined, because you had like specific training times and routines and plans. Or like what else did it give you, like that you could also use in your later life?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as I mentioned, the mental component was just so strong there. but there was also a sense of teamwork and how individual contributes to the bigger picture. So, when I was running track, I was also running the relays. And as you know, you have the baton, and if one person drops the baton, everybody loses in that race. It doesn't matter how fast you ran it. If you were not in sync, if you were not together with your team, that was not good. And it result in a missed handoff. You had to pace yourself with the steps to be just at the right the right synchronicity.
Yeah, with other person.
Time that handoff and put your hand back at the right time. There's just so many little mechanics involved, and a good team makes it look easy. When it's done, people don't see all the practice that went on behind the scenes. A good relay team, oh my goodness, the handoff looks like the runner never stopped, and it's just the same runner continuing. And yeah, it taught me the value of teamwork, and also the fact that somebody could always step in and pick up, where I left off, and for me to do my part of the work, and to give it to somebody else to continue or to complete or to improve or whatever. That is not a bad thing. And in fact, it can you can produce more success that way. Could I have run the entire relay myself in that time that the all four runners were able to do? No. We worked together to win the race. So I think that was another takeaway for me with the role of relays.
And I think in a work life, you have also worked like with many different people throughout the years, and you have seen like many different teams. And maybe this has also helped you to be like a better team player or better leader for these people. Actually, would you say that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's times when we have to do the run solo, and then there's times that we need to be a team player, and we recognize that everybody brings their different strengths to the table. So yeah, I think that's some of the biggest lessons there for me. And I always felt really good when our team won the relay, because I wasn't just standing up there by myself. I was standing up there with people who we had worked very hard to actually cooperate in a way that would help us to win.
Cool.
It's a little different perspective than if you're just training yourself.
Yeah. So after track and field, you also did like some taekwondo, salsa, there was bachata and dances, like kind of different things, also ballet. So
yes,
how did this switch become like reality for you? How did it come into your life?
Yeah, so I've always been, I would say, in shape. I've been blessed with having good genetics. Haven't really had to do any dieting or anything like that, but I reached a point a couple of years ago where I felt like I just needed to get up and move more. And my son was young enough. He was also interested in taekwondo. And I'm like, cool, taekwondo. I've never tried that. Why not? I'm going to go give it a try. And I ended up absolutely loving it, because it's a very much also a mental sport as much as it is a physical sport. And I'll be honest, there was something therapeutic about kicking and punching a punching bag.
Oh, wow.
It's just a different kind of release of energy. And what I found is that my body, I was working different muscles than I was used to working when I was running. And that also, you know, I'd done some bodybuilding as well when I was in college. And for me, the Taekwondo was really an eye-opener on how you can, first of all, balance your muscles and strengthen your muscles, but also the importance of flexibility. You know, when I was running, when I was doing sprinting and when I was doing the bodybuilding, you know, I would say more muscular. When I started doing the Taekwondo, what happens is all your ligaments start to stretch out and your flexibility just increases so much. And I was like, oh my goodness, my ankles aren't popping anymore. I am able to, you know, I just feel so much freer. I've got this new range of motion that's so different. And it also opens you up energetically. I would say there's just a different overall flow that is maybe more holistic. Whereas when you're running, you know, you're using your arms, you're using your legs, but there are parts of the body that just doesn't get the same kind of workout that I would say Taekwondo does with the core, you know, building the core. And then you also have stuff going on, you know, with your upper arms and your lower body. And you have your aerobic coming into this. And yeah, there's just it's just different. And so I really enjoyed that. Not only the physical, but also the mental. And I found that for me, having a little bit of what they call, it's like a mirror reversal dyslexia. When I was trying to learn how to dance when I was younger, and they would put a mirror behind the instructor, that would just throw me off. You know, instructor would go this way, I'd go this way, and, you know, just terrible things. And I didn't realize until later that I actually had some features of an actual learning issue around that. But what I found with Taekwondo is it actually started to rewire my brain to be more coordinated, to be able to respond differently, to be able to, I don't know, I found that it was impacting me even outside of doing the physical activity. It was creating new neural network connections in the brain. And yeah, it was just amazing. My dancing skills, my ability to dance and to follow somebody improved through all the work that I did in Taekwondo, and it's been lasting. And that is one of the coolest things, is realizing that as you get older, you still have a lot of ways that you can enhance the brain, rewire the brain, in some pretty dramatic ways, given the right conditions. So so yeah, I did that. And then during COVID, I was going crazy because the gyms were closed and, you know, not getting out a whole lot to go and find places to exercise. I started taking up some dancing, and I learned how to do some tango. Virtually on Zoom.
Like
I
alone
took
with an imaginary partner?
alone, but then my partner actually traveled to basically, you know, take a couple lessons in person, and it worked. But my instructor was down in Los Angeles, and he did a fabulous job of directing the two of us, and we were able to, yeah, actually do the tango in person. So I consider that a success. And then I learned some salsa and bachata, and I did a little hip hop as well mixed in. And so now what that has done for me is the concept of dance breaks. So when I'd be working and I'd get some time off or whatever, I would just crank the music and, you know, for one song, just get up and dance crazy. It's a great way to move your body. The other thing is when I'm in the kitchen, I love to dance. And so let's say I'm making, a fabulous, meal, healthy meal. And I turn on the music and I dance in the kitchen because it makes it a more enjoyable experience as you're thinking about nourishing your body with this amazing food that you're preparing. But yeah, it just brings the fun into it.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's not a chore. You're not worried about the cleanup of the kitchen or whatever. You're just having fun.
Mm,
And so that's been the biggest game changer for me is bringing that into things. And when you get up and dance, you're moving that energy in the body. You're bringing in all those good feeling uh, chemicals in your body. Your brain is happy, and that just also, it helps rewire things for more of that happiness, for more of that constant state. And they say that, if you spend time dancing, or you spend time laughing, telling jokes, moving, it does have a lasting window. It doesn't just stop when you stop that activity. The
mm.
after effects can last quite a long time. And so, yeah, that's been
Yeah.
my new thing. And
Yeah, I
so
totally
easy.
agree. I think it's like at some point I think dance kind of saved my mental health as well, because through dance I connected again with my feminine side, my sensual side, and it got me through very very hard time when I was also like getting like a divorce. So I found myself
Hmm.
again through dance, and then I also learned a little bit of dance therapy, and now I hear music and I'm like, yeah, let's dance. Because sometimes I tend to forget it, but actually, I know anytime put on like music that I like and move to it, I will feel better. And sometimes
Hmm.
I just forget, and I'm just like, I don't know, not so happy, blah blah blah. Then I put on music, okay, everything is good again, because you get
Oh
like
yeah.
maybe it's also about the energy in your body. When you move, you get the stuck energy moving and flowing again, and you open up, and everything is fine.
Yes. Well, and it makes me think about my grandmother, who lived to be like 96 years
Mm,
old, 95, 96. She was still dancing, right up
mm,
until her last days. You know, just keeping that youthful vibe
mhm,
alive instead of a lot of people as they age, I think they're not moving as much,
mhm,
they're not laughing as much, maybe they're isolated, they're not bringing that quality
mhm,
into their life anymore that they had when they were much younger, and that
mhm,
children naturally do. And I think when we're able to kind of go back to some of those roots, look at a child and the way
mhm.
that they are doing, it keeps the brain young, and I think it
Yeah.
keeps our bodies too. So
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I'm so in agreement with you that movement is the thing that we actually need in our lives. And I know that like me, you're also a Holobody coach. So you're also like into helping people with the health and wellness. So I also like using your own athletic background, your own practices with different dances and everything that you have experienced in your life when you're like working with people. Yeah, yeah. So, what actually made you go into coaching as well? I think this is also like a very big shift, because you were like for a long time in something else. You were in data, basically. I, I hope I got it correct right now. You were like in this data business and doing something for many, many years, doing it very, very well. And then I decided, okay, I want to switch. I want to switch to people.
mhm. Yeah, so I went through a series of I'll just say really painful experiences
Hmm,
uh, in the course of maybe a 10-year span of time. Starting with my own divorce,
hmm,
and then I experienced a tremendous amount of loss. I think there was at least 10 different deaths, not only in my family, but also a few friends that had passed away unexpectedly during that time. I had, a number of other various challenges as well. But, as a single mother, I was raising a child and trying to put food on the table, trying to make sure that I still had my house over my head. And as I started to go through that journey, I really realized the more the role that I played in some of the different challenges that I was finding myself in. The mind is a powerful thing, and our experiences, even from early childhood, can help shape the way that our mind thinks in the present moment. And I became very aware of certain patterns of thinking and such that were actually creating me more pain than need be. And we don't realize these, these limiting beliefs and the way that we do the self-talk to ourselves until we're forced to look at things from a different angle. And for me, I got to the point where, yes, I was forced to look at things from a different angle, and I realized there could be a much better way. And I realized that I was addicted. My brain was literally addicted to some of those unhealthy ways of talking to myself. So in my own quest to heal, and to not only heal, but also to up level myself. Once I realized that, I'm like, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to pull myself out of this hole, and I'm going to become the best me I can be. So that's how I started that whole journey. And I started out with feminine power leadership through evolving wisdom, which is with Dr. Claire Zammit, back in I think it was around 2013 that I first enrolled in her courses. And with that, I found there was a whole different way even of women relating to each other. This was not just about women empowerment from the what we would say the feminist perspective. This was about healing women's wounds. And as a woman, we often have some similar type of ways that we talk to ourselves that is not healthy, that has evolved over time. It's ingrained in many of the cultures globally. There is a kind of a universal way that women respond to shame and lack and isolation that holds women back. And this program really focused on shifting those three things in such a beautiful, powerful way, and seeing women not as enemies, another woman as an enemy, but seeing where we could actually co-elevate. We could help ourselves to go bigger, help ourselves to heal those wounds. So that was my first journey. And then I also became involved with Mind Valley. And that's where I first found out about Lifebook. So I took my first Lifebook course. And that I had been doing a lot of other learning online. Of course, when you start going down those roads, there's so many different quests and things that you can do. And for me, Lifebook was such a wonderful thing because it's a framework. It's not just another class, but you are working on putting together a 12 category life. You're working on setting your life vision and how all those categories kind of roll up to that life vision, as well as, the importance of the goal structure and your strategies for up leveling in each of those 12 areas. And up until that point, so many of the other trainings that I'd been through, they pretty much just focused on one area. Like oh, up level your career, or up level your finances, or maybe it's business, or maybe it's your emotional life. There was so many different fragmented things. This was like, I call it my basket.
Mm.
And this allowed me to put all those cool things I was learning into my basket, kind of categorize them, see where they helped overlap within these life categories, and set goals to really start living all of this material that I was learning.
Mm.
So many of us, we find these cool classes, we take them, but then we never go out and really fully apply it to our life.
Mm.
And the thing that was the game changer for me with Lifebook is I started really applying things in about, I would say 2019 was
Mm.
when it really took off. And as I've looked back and reflected on each year since I've taken it, the amount of things that I've accomplished is absolutely mind-blowing. There's no way that I think I would have been able to accomplish as much as I have since that time if I was the me back in 2012 when I originally went through all of
Mm.
the me before all the pain, the me before all the learning and all of that. I'm a completely different person now, and I continue to evolve as a result of
Mm.
applying this. And then when I took Holobody is just such a beautiful complement to all of Lifebook. And what that teaches, it's something that fits not only in the health and fitness category in Lifebook, but I found, for me, Holobody, I found to be so complementary to other areas of those life categories. So, for example, Holobody, it's not just about health and fitness. There's a lot of programs out there that, they'll say, oh, go on this diet or that diet or eat this and all will be well. No, Holobody focuses on the whole person.
Yeah.
And not just who you are physically, but who are you mentally? How are you thinking about your health? What do you believe about it from a spiritual sense?
Mm-hmm.
How are you taking care of your health on a daily basis? Are you budgeting money in to buy your supplements or to get your gym membership? What does your quality of life look like? And are you getting out into nature, for example, that also helps with your spirituality and your emotional health along with your physical health? How do you see your own body from a health perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Is your mindset old, or are you putting on this youthful persona and doing things like dance in the kitchen?
Mm.
How are your habits reflecting things that also support your health and your well-being? So looking at all of those things and looking at how, especially Holobody, handles setting up your habits.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was incredible. I mean, I have yet to find a better training around habits that I would say really takes in the work of BJ Fogg, who wrote a great book around, I believe it was Tiny Habits. Really took in some of the best work that comes from his findings, as well as a few other techniques. And you're actually coming up with a plan for your life by building all these habits that just, what I realized is this program was more than just a healthy program. It was more than just a nutrition program, more than just a fitness program. It was about creating a beautiful lifestyle.
Yeah, it's
And
a Holobody, it's holistic approach. Yeah.
yeah, but it's about creating a beautiful lifestyle. And when I realized, wow, creating a beautiful morning routine or a beautiful evening routine that is also nourishing my body, and it might be nourishing those around me as well, you know, my family, if I'm preparing beautiful meals, if now the space that I'm working in my kitchen is now a sacred space, and I'm bringing in the best ingredients, you know, organic, and I'm preparing them in a way that is deliberate. That brings in, you know, kind of a spiritual element as well. And you're also doing a mind shift on so many levels. So for me, that was huge. You know, being able to deliberately make time for my outdoor time, go enjoy nature, and not just enjoy it, but savor. I would say, you know, Holobody brought out so many beautiful ways of being that, you know, the normal textbooks that you see around athletics, around diet, around cooking, around any of that doesn't even come close. And the other thing that I liked about Holobody is you can tailor it to you. So it's not a one size fits all approach. And, you know, when we think about our bodies, I always had a problem with nutrition programs or dietitians who were saying, oh, well, just do this, and, you know, or you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't eat that. I believe that depending on your physical makeup, how you've been raised, how your body reacts to different foods, you need a unique plan for you. For me to go and do a certain type of exercise, the way my body's built would not necessarily benefit me in the same way it might benefit me or benefit the person next. So we really want to make sure that we're listening to our body, and we're also choosing things that we know are going to help our body and not harm our body. And yeah, I had the experience. I remember I had someone at one point telling me, yeah, you shouldn't be eating this. You should avoid this. I'm like, I don't have a problem with eating this. I actually feel good when I eat this. But this other thing that you're telling me to eat makes me feel horrible. You know, that's a perfect case in point. And later, when I had myself allergy tested, I found out that I was allergic to the very thing that they were telling me to eat more of. So yeah, it's so important that we listen to our bodies, and you know, there's a deeper wisdom there that sometimes gets drowned out in our busy lives. And we rely so heavily on other experts outside of us to just say, okay, you do this and all will be well. We want people to kind of take that control as opposed to ourselves taking on that ownership. And we give away our power. And I think that when we learn how to listen deeply to ourselves, and even in a moment, just tap in and say, what is the most loving thing that I can do for myself right here in my moment, in this moment? What does my body most need right now? And just sit and listen.
Yeah.
You might be surprised. You know, it's like, oh, maybe I need a drink of water. Oh, maybe I need to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I need to take a step away from the computer screen for a little bit and go outside. Pull some weed, or do whatever. Yeah, it's a different way of being, and that's what Holobody did for me.
Yeah, and Week in Holobody, there's this beautiful practice called body talk. So you also like actually talking to your own body. You're not talking to some kind of external experts and other people. You're talking to your own body because, as Roland says in the quest, or like in the Holobody program, it is you're not your body, but you have a relationship with your body. So what's important thing in relationships is communication. So actually, either actually talk with your body, like maybe sitting in front of a mirror, or I know that some people also kind of recorded a Zoom call with themselves, like just one person, and then they later watch the recording, or you can just, I don't know. I have done it in a way that sometimes I just walk in the nature, and then I just talk to myself, and I talk to my body like, "Hey, body, I want this, and how are you feeling actually?" And it's
Mm-hmm.
especially for me. I think I'm like very super body oriented because I have been a runner and now I'm doing bodybuilding. But I actually realized that okay, maybe I'm not in such a good contact with my own body because I was kind of forcing my body through something. I was forcing it to be a certain shape for the stage, for example. So, and I was doing the Holobody while I was like at the end of my competition preparation, and somewhere in the middle of Holobody, I had my second competition, and later I was also like coming out of the diet and things. So I was like in lots of transitions as well, and I realized,
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe I'm torturing myself too much, and maybe it would be better to do all these competitions while I'm like more in tune with my own body, while I actually listen and collaborate with my own body, not just okay. We need to be this. This is these are the numbers we have to get there, but I can't force the body so much actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's a mental component to that too,
Mm,
because the mind is so much more powerful than we realize.
mm,
And sometimes I think that, we're able to heal ourselves with our own mind.
mm, mm,
And so when we're facing those challenges, maybe we're sick or we have a cold, or maybe we're just not looking as vibrant,
mm,
checking in with what is going on in the mind and
mm,
how can we turn that around. If you're telling yourself, oh, I look awful, or oh, I'm so tired, or um,
mm,
I look so tired every time we look in the mirror, um, how can we shift that to
mm,
say, oh, I'm radiant, I'm glowing, I have the most amazing skin. I think Vishen
mm.
talks about this
Yeah.
as well. um, how can we shift that? And people who have done this successfully report, yeah, my skin started changing, or
Mm,
um, I don't get sick because I am constantly telling myself that I'm well. Um, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to go there and I'm going to get sick. I'm going to,
Actually,
words and
this actually works for me because I'm this person who's like, oh, I'm never sick, and I didn't get hit by corona, for example. I was like I was seeing people. I was like maybe in close contact with other people who were sick, but I had this mindset. Okay, I will be healthy. I won't get sick, and I just don't get it. I just don't ever fall ill. If there's sometimes there's like these flu seasons, then I don't
Mhm,
kind of realize this because it doesn't hit me. Because at some
mhm,
point in my life, I don't even remember when I decided, okay, I won't be sick. I will always be
mhm.
healthy, and yeah, it's working.
Yes, I think that's perfect example. I mean, saying like even an affirmation, I have such a strong immune system. Why
Hmm.
do I have such a strong immune system? Those
Yeah,
lofty questions,
yeah,
those in. Why do I? Well, there's
hmm,
definitely physical changes that go on that are related
yeah.
to the brain. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So do you actually also like work with people regarding like the Holobody program, like health and wellness? Can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I offer not only the life book courses, so I teach basic and mastery,
Mm-hmm.
and those can be done either in a group or individually.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do um, I start with a 4-week package with the Holobody coaching, and I do that one on-one, right now, but it could be arranged in a group if you had, you know, several friends that wanted to go through it. But generally, it's one-on-one since it's such a personalized program. And the entire process takes about 3 months, 4 months to go through to really take somebody through the entire Holobody program. But because it's so customized, what we do is we start working right off the bat with some of your primary concerns and being to help shift that. And the way that if you want to work with me, the way to get in touch is simply to email me at marcia.drake, so marcia.drake at ecoheart, ecoheart, so ECOHEART .org, O-R-G.
Okay.
And just email, say you're interested. I will be opening up slots for coaching in August. So if you want more details, shoot me an email and I will send you them.
Okay, so you don't have like any website, or you're not on like social media with your coaching?
I do have a website, but it's somewhat under construction right now. Yeah.
But you
So
can be
I will
reached
send.
by email. So I think I will put it also like in the description, so people can find it there. So it's easier just to see written as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you feel now after having this conversation about some athletic mindset, your own journey, and also like how you help people? How does it feel now?
Well, I think that for me, I'm ready to, you know, continue my own personal journey. Um, you know, the thing that's kind of on my mind is making myself a beautiful grain bowl for lunch, with a bunch of healthy, um, nutritional, organic food, whole foods, and yeah, just really continuing to deliberately make the choices in my life that I know are going to be nourishing to me, and it enables me to be a better person to accomplish, you know, the larger vision that I'm setting out to do. And that is, again, to be a global change maker, you know, to help save lives, to bring myself out there. Because if I can't take care of me, how can I go bigger with the rest of the world?
Yeah, it all starts with you, and then it like expands to the rest of the world. It's beautiful. So I think it was a beautiful conversation, and thank you for this. Thank you for sharing. It's so heartwarming to hear all these stories from other people as well, and how actually coaching has first changed your life, and now you're also like willing to change other people's lives. You want to not just be good, but also want to level up, and you want to help other people to level up. I think it's beautiful. Yeah. So
Thank you. Well,
is there anything you would like to say as an end note to people who are listening or watching? Anything that
I will just say, if you're thinking about doing Holobody, if you're thinking about doing Lifebook, by all means, my recommendation is 100% yes. They will change your life forever in amazing ways, and the benefits go beyond just those programs. They have ripple effects that will change your life forever. And I am so happy to be able to bring that to you today, and to be able to share my experience. And I hope you will take that journey too.
yeah. I also started with Lifebook, and the next one was Holobody, and it all like spiraled upwards after this. So similar experiences.
Yes, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, I totally recommend. And if you're somebody who doesn't maybe want to be a coach, you can always be coached by us, for example, or any other Holobody coach who has gone through this process. It's a beautiful journey. It's like you're seeing yourself as a whole, and you're like acknowledging all the parts of you and your life. It's like if one part has some defects, it's actually affecting your whole body and your whole life. So it's also like, in Lifebook, we have all these different areas that we can like balance and bring together, and it's kind of similar in Holobody. So yeah, these two programs, they really like complete the circle,
Yes.
kind of. Okay,
Absolutely.
beautiful. And thank you for being with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.